Joining me now is Andre Bakaj, Chief Legal Counsel at Whistleblower Aid and the attorney for the whistleblower at the heart of this story. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me on.
Okay, can you tell me what you make of the Wall Street Journal's reporting that the White House is exerting executive privilege to try to keep your client's whistleblower complaint from Congress?
Well, first, just to begin, our client has a right to go to Congress by law. In fact, we have asked the Director of National Intelligence for the process by which our client can go and provide a briefing to the Hill. And so that is one thing that I need to make clear. As for the White House or the Director of National Intelligence asserting executive privilege, that would be something that is rare as far as I understand. And bottom line is that the senators and members of Congress who would have access to the underlying intelligence would only be the Gang of Eight. So there is a mechanism by which this information should be going to those who need to know it.
Talk to me more about the possibility of your client appearing before members of Congress, just how that would work, the timeline on which that could happen. What more can you share?
I really can't share the timing on what we may be able to do with respect to our client briefing the Hill, because right now we're waiting for the guidance. You know, what's interesting about a case like this is that at whistleblower.aid.org, for example, we've recently had a whistleblower come forward involving ICE and how ICE has directed that when they're teaching their new trainees that they violate the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, right? We were able to go directly to Congress with that information because the whistleblower in that case, Mr. Trank, is not in the intelligence community. But there are different hurdles and requirements for members of the intelligence community where we have to go through the Inspector General process and effectively get permission from the Director of National Intelligence to go to the Hill. What's really problematic here, in my opinion, is that Tulsi Gabbard is the subject of this complaint, of this disclosure, and she is the one who's blocking its transmittal to Congress in its totality. And by the way, I don't even know what the Gang of Eight has even seen, because there's more than just the initial filing, which, as I understand, is just one page. There's other information associated with this disclosure.
The Wall Street Journal also reported that last year Gabbard discussed the intelligence that's in your client's whistleblower report with Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles. Any good reason why Susie Wiles would be able to see classified intelligence, but the Gang of Eight would not?
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
It makes absolutely no sense to me. And what's really concerning to me is the fact that you have the Director of National Intelligence running to the White House, disclosing the underlying intelligence, and then coming back to headquarters and spiking its dissemination within the intelligence community. That's a huge problem. Now, I haven't seen the underlying intelligence. I don't have the access to classified information in this case to see that. But if we take what's been reported by the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, it's true in terms of who the individuals implicated are and the countries involved. This is serious. You know, this disclosure was made back in April and May of last year. We're still waiting to get this to Congress. And obviously, there are world events that may hinge on what the underlying information would reveal.
I want to stay on the actionable piece of this because yesterday you had top Democrats in the Senate and the House Intelligence Committees. Senator Mark Warner, Congressman Jim Himes wrote a letter to Tulsi Gabbard demanding more information about these claims of executive privilege. We've talked about what you are doing on your end, the guidance you are seeking in terms of getting your client in front of Congress. What do you want to see from Congress? I mean, what is it going to take for them to appropriately push this administration to disclose this information?
Congress cannot let up. They need to exercise their Article 1 obligations and conduct oversight over the intelligence community. I mean, just for historical perspective, back in the 70s, you had the Church Commission conducting an investigation to determine whether or not the intelligence community was spying against un-American citizens, right? And following Watergate, you had the creation and establishment of federal inspectors general. There is a reason why we have these processes in place, because unlike other departments and agencies where it's easier, I would think, for Congress to conduct oversight over those departments, it's tricky for Congress to get access to understanding how the intelligence community operates. So I would not want Congress to let up on this. And something that I think is really important here is that while I understand and appreciate, given that I myself am a former intelligence officer, that there are hurdles for getting whistleblowers from CIA, for example, to Congress because of the classified nature of their work, we can't have a brick wall. So I do believe that Congress needs to look at what has gone well and what has gone horribly in this particular case and remedy the process.
Especially because in as much as there is an impact to your client and an impact to national security, there is also a chilling effect for future whistleblowers. Andre Bakaj, thank you so much for being with us.